Full disclosure, I love horror games, but I'm a scaredy cat. Many times in my gaming career, I found myself staring down a dark corridor, petrified and motionless. It takes a lot of courage to leave the safety of a liminal space, but I always do, eventually. I'm telling you this because I've never been more afraid of walking up and down the same hallway as I was during my time with Resident Evil Requiem at Gamescom. My preview begins with Grace Ashcroft waking up restrained in a disused medical facility. As you may already know, Grace is an FBI agent and the game's protagonist. She's the daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft, a survivor of Raccoon City and a playable character in Resident Evil Outbreak. In gameplay footage released by Capcom at Opening Night Live, we see Alyssa meet a grisly fate several years before the events of Requiem. Anyway, back to my current predicament. Whatever entity captured Grace appears to be experimenting on her blood. I'm sure that won't come back to haunt us down the line. The federal agent quickly escapes her bonds, and that's when all my problems began. The shadowy group that killed Alyssa in Requiem's gameplay trailer asked for Ashcroft on the phone before doing the deed, which, in combination with the apparent experimentation on Grace, suggests something more is going on with that family. I strolled around the starting room. Nothing bad ever happens in the starting room, right? I opted to play in third person because first-person games occasionally give me motion sickness. Also, first person is scarier, okay? I get scared. Requiem does warn you before you begin playing that first person is considered the most immersive way to play. This is especially relevant when it comes to lighting, as in this preview, Grace relies on a flick lighter to see in front of her in the pitch-dark facility. A first-person perspective allows you to play with vision more, but in third person, you need to give some ambient lighting so the player can see their character. Unfortunately, even my slightly better vision wasn't enough to save me from what was coming.
Dark corridors, darker premonitions.
In classic Resident Evil fashion, the item descriptions in Requiem all adopt the same naive tone. A vial of blood. I wonder where that came from. Don't worry about it, Grace. After a quick look around, I exited the starting room into, you guessed it, a series of dark corridors. The only thing lit up was a statue of a pony in mid-prance, equal parts majestic and creepy. I was quickly met with a locked door that required a key and a power door that needed a fuse. After some rummaging around, I heard a loud bang from the direction I came from. My sense of dread gradually rose. I knew what I had to do, but I wasn't sure I had the strength to do it. I began walking back down the hallway towards the crash. Physically, I was in a room full of other Gamescom attendees playing the game, but that did nothing to alleviate my fear. I'm remaining conscious of what's around me so I don't jump backwards in fear and send a fellow gamer careening into one of Capcom's expensive monitors. Lo and behold, one of the previously locked doors is now ajar. Fantastic. I walk in and open the next door, and the corpse of an infected falls on Grace. She might have dealt with the jump scare better than I did. However, when the horrific 10-foot beast then picked up the corpse and bit its head off, our heroine was as scared as I was. This begins a chase sequence. The nightmarish troll lumbers after you while you try to keep it together. Of course, the first thing I did was turn around and sprint into the creature. You have to look death in the face to appreciate life, or I just get less scared when I know what happens when you get caught. Needless to say, that thing devoured Grace. Capcom, as usual, isn't messing around with death animations as the creature plucked her from the floor and devoured her from the legs up in one effortless crunch. On my next run, I simply ran around the corner and the rumbling footsteps behind me stopped. I backtracked once more to the room where I found the creature and immediately identified that I needed to push a trolley into position to access something atop a shelf. Naturally, the trolley is covered in stuff, and no, you can't gently clear it of items before moving it. I tried, but Grace was surprisingly laissez-faire about the whole thing. I swear I moved that trolley as slowly as an analog stick can muster, but a cup still fell on the floor. The rumbling returned as I cowered behind the trolley. In hindsight, hiding in the exact spot where the noise came from wasn't my best idea. Still, I was optimistic. I told myself the creature, now in my clear view through a window into the adjoining hallway, was just going to stroll past. One of those set-piece scares. Nope. She walked straight into the room, approached the spot where I cowered in terror, and gobbled me up in one swift movement. My preview window ended shortly after. I was disappointed and perhaps a bit relieved too. I get the sense that Requiem will lean more into horror than action. Capcom has been repeating the line about how a squeamish protagonist like Grace is more conducive to horror than someone like Leon. I could see the truth in that while playing Requiem, especially since this snippet of gameplay had no weapons, leaving me powerless and afraid in the face of my evil pursuer. Technically, I'm extremely impressed. The flame from the lighter flickers on the walls, splashing shadows across the room and elevating the ambiance. The sound design is spot on. The creature shuffling from behind you is a source of terror, even as it becomes more distant. Visually, I'm a big fan of Capcom's style, and Requiem is as good as the RE engine has ever looked. I was so engrossed that I only wrote one note during the gameplay: peak survival horror. Resident Evil Requiem releases February 27th for Xbox Series S and X, PlayStation 5, and PC.